So I actually started Brevetto almost 16, but one of my passions really was my kids. And I was really exhausted, working, 60, 70 hours a week at the restaurant. And so I was looking for something that I could pour my passion into. So I launched a podcast called Kick-Ass Dad, 140,000 downloads over the first few months, and we got on the cover new and notable.
Hello, everyone. Today, my podcast guest is Mike from Brevetto, CEO and founder. Mike, thank you for joining us. Please tell us a little bit more about your company and yourself.
Yeah, nice to see you. So I actually started Brevetto almost 16, 17 months ago now. So I actually come from I come from a background of digital marketing. Before that, I was a restaurant manager, hospitality for years. But one of my passions really was my kids, and so I was looking for something I could do outside of the restaurant. I was really exhausted, working, you know, 60, 70 hours a week at the restaurant. And so I was looking for something that I could pour my passion into. So I launched a podcast called Kick Ass Dad, and that did very well
Nice.
on iTunes. And it was, we were kind of crushing it. We did 140,000 downloads over the first few months, and we got on the cover new and notable, and it just kind of took off. And then I was working crazy hours because I was still working in the restaurant, and then I was doing a podcast from home. And I know you know how much work a podcast can be. So I needed to figure out how to sort of monetize that, and that's when I got into digital marketing. Started took a couple classes, and then found a couple gigs, and I think the first month that I was doing digital marketing was way back in the heyday of Facebook advertising when it was just so easy.
Hmm.
And I remember the first month I think I spent $50,000 in ad spend, and we brought in $650,000. And I said, I am never going back to the restaurant. Like, this
Nice.
is amazing.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Thanks for sharing because I was going to ask you as a few follow-ups, but you answered some of them already. So yes, from the restaurant industry, I hear stories. I've never been myself, but I know that it's a lot of work, a
Oh,
lot of hours. Um, Customer service has to
yes.
be on point 24/7. And what you were a manager for a restaurant?
Yeah, so I started out as a server, worked my way up to, bartender, and then manager, and then I became a chef, and then a manager again. And I never got that big role, that GM role that I was always looking for. And I think there's something about, me was out of alignment with that. I'm a very charismatic person. I like to, get out there in life,
Hmm.
and I like to sort of seize life by the horns. And I was just stuck in this restaurant, and, it just wasn't for me. And
Yeah,
then I got, once I figured out that I could, do this stuff from home, and I could really, take my passion for sociology and psychology and philosophy and just people and behavior, and kind of channel that into marketing. That got really fun for me
yeah, yeah.
until 2021,
Hmm.
when Facebook and Apple broke up, and we lost a lot of data signals on the internet, and it became very difficult to get the right message in front of the right person at the right time. And
Yeah, yeah.
so, I kind of had to reinvent myself, and that's the beginning of how I started to formulate. Between me and my brother-in-law, he actually
Yeah, yeah.
started Brevetto, and then he was looking for some help, and I was like, man, this AI stuff's cool. I'm interested.
No, awesome, man. And I think one more before we dive into Brevetto. You mentioned your podcast. Definitely want to hear more about this for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
So congratulations, first of all, man, being able to grow it this quickly. Did you run ads for it, or it was just mostly like organic?
No, so what I did it was, yeah, very much organic, but I was leveraging systems. I'm very interested in systems. I'm very when I get my mind on something, like what
Mm.
I do is I just go all in, learn everything I possibly can learn about it, and then just take different people's systems and then say, like, I'm going to follow this step by step by step by step, and that's what I did. I followed was
What
it
do you
a
mean by
light
systems?
so Entrepreneur on Fire was one of the podcasts I was listening at the time. And
Mm.
he had a kind of a checklist. Here's how you get on the front of new and notable on iTunes. And I was like, okay, that's my goal, because if you can leverage, all of the little pieces of the puzzle of what you need to do to get recognized by Apple at the time to get that, then that's free traffic. And so I was like,
Mm.
ooh, that's what I want to do. So that's what I did. I just followed it step by step by step. I called every one of my friends. I said, "Hey, come, give me a review." I just started sending it out to everybody I could, But it was also a very aligned podcast for me, though. It was something I was very passionate about. I was also listening to another podcast at the time called The Kick-Ass Life.
Hmm.
And the gentleman on the podcast said, if you want to be successful, you got to, do what successful people do. And so I said, sure, like I'll start a podcast like you and steal the name of your podcast. And so but I just aligned it with something I was passionate about as well, which is
Yeah, yeah.
parenting. And so I think that's why it really took off. But between that and following a system, a
Hmm.
step-by-step system, that those two things combined, passions, talents, values, and then systems. I think if you can figure out how to align those, you can pretty much do anything.
That's awesome, man. Congrats. You and I
Thank
will definitely be talking more about this. But so the kids, yes, I'm a father myself, and I totally hear you about,
Congratulations.
finding thank you, man, about finding the perfect work-life balance to be able to spend more time with your family. You have one or two? How many kids do you have?
No, I have three kids. We
Nice,
have
man.
twins. My oldest
Nice.
are 22, boy and a girl, and then our youngest
No
is
way.
20. Yeah,
Wow, man. I would have never
yeah,
guessed you
man.
have 20 years old already.
I really
Congratulations.
appreciate that.
I'm just getting started. My little one is 1.5. Just started school, pre-K.
Wow,
So I mean, yeah, I'm just getting into it, and we
it's
definitely
amazing,
want
man.
twins next. If we could get twins next, that would be it. Call it a day. But we'll see what happens. There are twins in my wife's family,
Yeah,
so fingers crossed.
we were not planning on it. We were planning on having my wife and I used to foster, and so we were planning on
Okay.
adopting, and we wanted to have
Yeah, yeah.
one of our own.
Uh-huh.
And then the first one became two, and then two became three 16 months later.
That's awesome, and they're all close in age. No, but parenting is
Yeah,
amazing. Being a dad is amazing. I love it. Wouldn't change a
yeah,
thing. So, I
yeah.
mean, listen, let's dive into some. No, go for it. Yeah, when I start.
Oh no, I was just gonna say enjoy it now. The teenage we have this joke that when your kids become a teenager, they're like an alien pod person comes like an alien comes and takes them and leaves the pod person behind. It's like a totally different human, and they just don't like you at all. So I'm still waiting for them to come back, but they'll be back. No, the two of them still live here.
I'm bracing myself. I'm bracing myself. Um,
Enjoy it. Enjoy every second.
we'll do. We'll do. We'll do. All the cuddles, all the like, yeah. Well,
Oh my
I'll
God,
enjoy
I
it.
miss it, man. Yeah, we have some friends that have some little ones. They come over, and I'm a kid myself, so I just run around the house and we have a blast. And but now it's like 2 hours, and I'm like, okay, it's so good to see you guys. Bye, mom and dad. Like, it's nice when they go home and you have
Yeah, yeah.
time to chill.
No. Awesome, man. So, I mean, listen, let's dive into some of the content here. You mentioned AI. So, obviously, from what I hear, Brevetto kind of started as like a creative agency, right? And then you guys got into AI. So, tell us more about like, Brevetto itself before AI, and then like what you guys are working on now.
Yeah, we actually started as a more of a engineering, and marketing company. So my brother-in-law and I came together. He's a full stack engineer, and I'm a digital marketer. And we were intent on doing like really enterprise Adobe, enterprise builds and things like that. And we just couldn't really get our foot in the door. And then we both started getting really into AI. ChatGPT came out, and I started to go,
Hmm.
what about ChatGPT could help us when it comes to the things that I was struggling with as a marketer, that data signal loss, that ability to target consumers with the right product at the right time. And so I'm going, what if you created more transparent, conversational AI that people could talk with brands, they could talk with your website, they could talk with your, and really get value out of it, and transparently share data with you so that you could sell better, develop better products, create better products, sell products more efficiently and
Hmm.
effectively, because you know what people want because they're talking to you. And then
Yeah,
the
yeah.
more people you have talking to you, the more you can sort of step back and look at that meta
So,
signal. Well,
so,
a lot of times, yeah.
so I'm sorry, just to make sure I'm following
Very
him
good.
for listeners as well. What do you mean by like, how did you get people to talk to you? How did you get people to talk to you?
Yeah, so anything from a digital chat agent on your website. One of
Gotcha.
the big problems with those sorts of things, though, is people just can't stand them because they're so used to this, really dumb bot.
Yeah.
right? So it's
Yep.
like
Hmm.
people go, they'll say hi, and it'll be like, oh, and then it'll sort of do this sort of decision tree thing where it's pre-programmed. It's not, it just doesn't feel like communicating. It feels like you're
Of
talking to a
course.
robot.
I hate them.
So
Yep.
I started doing, yeah, I started getting really into prompt engineering and role and
Okay.
system prompt engineering, which is like wild because you can turn these like really generalists like ChatGPT, it just, you don't get a lot of personality out of it. You don't get a lot of, it just feels kind of sterile.
Hmm.
But once you start role and system prompting, you can turn these things into not only domain experts, like I've built hundreds of these things. I've got ones that build, create brainstorming ideas for blogs and create digital marketing campaigns and generate, the our Shopify stores and like all the things that a generalist AI would be kind of mediocre at. You can turn these things into uber specialists just by sort of channeling them. So, like if you think about it, ChatGPT, it's really wide. It's got a lot of knowledge, so it's kind of a generalist. As a human, I don't want to go to a generalist doctor when I need
Yeah. Yeah.
surgery, right?
Yep. Yep.
So being able to turn these things into domain experts, you still need the human touch. Like that's one of the things
Yep.
that a lot of people will outsource, and it's like you can't outsource the human touch. But you can turn these things into, really incredible domain experts and then take those inputs and outputs and turn them into something really special because, you're not sitting there staring at a blank cursor, starting from
Yeah.
scratch, right? You've got a
Hmm.
starting place. You've got some expert knowledge that you can turn into wisdom or even better.
That's awesome, man. So, um, and this is what I thought when you were explaining this, but I was like, okay, let me just make sure I'm following. So, pretty much, it's you're creating a much, much, much more lively, for lack of a better term, chatbot. Some,
Oh yeah.
okay. And they're gonna be, is it gonna be, are you working with one in industry specifically, or regardless of what the domain is, you can do it?
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. So in 2014, I saw this sort of AI revolution happening, or excuse me, 2024, and then I saw this sort of age. I saw agents coming out of nowhere, and a lot of people didn't know what agents were, and they weren't really that familiar with AI. And so I started buying domain names, and so you can get, you go try to buy a .com of like, let's say for example like humanresources.com, like you're going to spend like half a million, $200,000 to try to get that domain because people are typing in those keywords. Those keywords that lead to free traffic. That free traffic goes to your website.
Mm,
So I'm like, what about AI? What if we were to have, buy AI and we could build all these system prompts to put domain experts on these system prompts. So when people are searching for human resources or whatever, they land on the site. They've got not a chat GPT, but a chat interface that, not only is typing it back and forth, but can also talk back and forth. And you can create give them a personality. You
mm.
can give them a domain expertise so they can answer questions directly related to the things that people were intending to search for. And they go, wow, like that's pretty powerful. So,
Nice.
yeah, I spent like $125,000 in 2024 on AI domains, and everybody thought I
No
was
way.
nuts. Yeah, man.
So did you
But
guys own all the freaking domains out there for .ai?
we own a few. We own a few. I mean, there's a lot, but we own
Yeah,
about 1,000, a little over 1,030 or something like that, in 10 different verticals, from healthcare to financial technology, to human resources, personal development. You pretty much name it, and we've got a domain that would cover that. And so now we're in the process of doing the launch where we're actually building all of these systems so that we can just shoot them up, in minutes now.
so now let me make sure I'm clear. So you bought all these domains so that when people do a Google search or whatever it is, whatever search engine that they're utilizing, yours would come up. And
That's
once
right. And so, yeah, sorry,
and
go ahead.
once they click on yours, you want them to pretty much based on the domain that they selected, you want to have a highly specialized chatbot in there that can communicate with them for what they're looking for.
Exactly. Exactly.
Interesting. Okay.
And with the goal of just giving them value, right? And then the more traffic you have coming to those domains, the more they get ranked with the search engines. And because they're .ai domains, then you're into answer engine optimization as well, not just search engine optimization. So you've got SEO, which is what the old school, that's what we were talking
Mm-hmm.
about before, to
Mm-hmm.
keywords. But now you've got, answer engine optimization. So now you can build in what ChatGPT and Perplexity and
Mm-hmm.
Anthropic want to see, the signals they want to see, and then just having the .ai domain. ChatGPT is, I think, three or four times more likely to recommend your link to a .com. So like that's where the world's headed, and we were, I I had the time on my hands to do it at the time, and I had the gumption and the crazy harebrained idea. So here we are.
That's awesome. So now tell me, how do you guys plan on monetizing this? Because pretty significant investment to get all these domains. So
Yeah.
like, what's the plan? What's the plan there?
Yeah, I mean, if you don't have like sitting domains are worthless if you're not using them, right? So
Yeah.
it's like, ours are, I think, like Estabot's value is like 3.7 million right now, but they're
Wow.
worthless because we're not leveraging them.
Uh-huh.
Well, we are. We're building the system that is, and we're in our launch phase now, but imagine like a monopoly, right? It's like
Mm-hmm.
you have all these, Boardwalk, Park Place, and you buy these properties. Domains are kind of like digital properties. They're
Mm-hmm.
valueless unless you start building on them. So if I
Yeah.
land on Boardwalk when you don't have a house or hotel, you're not making a lot of money.
Yep.
But when you have a hotel, you're making some money. So the way we're looking at this is to monetize is using this more as a lead magnet. So having all these domains in all these different industries, and then, let's say for example, you land on, human resources agent.ai, and you start talking to this thing, you're like, wow, this thing is not only is it kind of fun to talk to, but it's also giving me the exact information I needed. And then after like, maybe like, 6, 7, chats back and forth, or like we're talking back and forth, it goes, hey, Mike, because you told me your name. If you want, we've got, I can remember this conversation, and we'll save all this, and so this way, if you want to come back and talk to
Mm-hmm.
me, you never have to worry about me forgetting what we were talking about. It'll be personalized to you. Would you be interested in that? And they go, uh, I mean, that sounds good. Like, yeah, for free, sure. So, in old school, we would do, you build a lead magnet. Somebody gives you their name and their email address for a
Mm-hmm.
PDF. Well, like, people don't do that so much anymore. Like, they're not as interested in that anymore. They can just go to ChatGPT or whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
most people aren't very good at system prompting. They're not very good at role prompting. They're not very good at turning these, AIs into domain experts. So that's what I spent the last, 16 months really mastering, is this, system and role prompt engineering. And so, we're able to create these things. And now we've got this kind of machine that builds these system and role prompts. So like we're building the thing that builds the thing that builds the thing. And then now we're automating it. So, we just hired our DevOps team member. And so what he's doing is he's building the entire AWS infrastructure, so that, we're also members of the NVIDIA Inception Accelerator startup. And so we've got all of these free cloud credits. Oops, sorry. We got, sorry.
No, no worries.
Can't right now. Um, so we've got, thousands of, sorry, so we got 1,000 domains, and so now we've got our DevOps guys setting this up so that we can launch these for free. We can launch them, and create, systems that are monitoring them all the time, and we can actually manage these domains because, you think about launching, a website, you're usually looking
Mm-hmm.
like, 2, 3, 4 months to launch. We're getting it down to, a few minutes.
Yeah, yeah.
And so like that coupled with the ability to leverage all these free cloud credits and cover our hosting and traffic and all of that. So now now what we're doing is preparing to launch all of these different verticals, which all lead to a single user interface, and then uh, deliver people personalized experiences at scale with the agents and the AIs that have personalities and that can actually deliver real business value and then go actually execute stuff. If you could imagine like, a content engine. Imagine if you were able to just talk to you had a great idea. You talk into your phone, you record it, like we've all done that, and then
Mm-hmm.
it just sits there. Nothing happens. You forget about it. Nothing happens. Well, imagine if you had a bunch of little agents that were taking all of your really inspired, passionate, interesting ideas and
Hmm.
turning them into products, services, blogs, LinkedIn posts, and optimizing them for each platform. And then, you talk into your phone, and then 42 seconds later, you've got not only a product, but you've got a landing page, and you've got content material that you're able to get out into the world in just a few minutes for very little money. So that's what we're building. We're building this sort of uh, you know content and marketing business engine. But we're not just stopping there. We're really passionate about people. We're really passionate about
Hmm.
helping people identify what are they passionate about? What are you good
Yeah,
at?
yeah.
What are the things that come naturally to you? What are you interested in? And like taking that, and like now you can even personalize those
Hmm.
things. So now I can take, instead of, a bunch of garbage AI people just shooting out, now I can I can talk to my phone, have a great idea, turn that into amazing content that is personalized with my voice and with my passions and with my interests, because now, all of that context is available to that AI system that is,
Nice.
is more of an amplification agent than a duplication agent.
Nice. So listen, first of all, congrats, man. That's amazing. That's well thought out. I'm fascinated. So for our audience here, let's walk through, you kind of alluded to it, but let's walk through a concrete example.
Yeah.
And I think where, it made a lot of sense at least it started resonating for me is that, hey, listen, if you buy all these properties, but you don't really do anything with them, they don't really bring any value, right? So let's go back to that example with the domains. So give me an example of your ideal scenario for one of these domains. Like somebody starts interacting with them, and then what?
Yeah, and then so for example, well, let me give you a quick side example, and then I'll come back to that because I think
Yeah,
this is important.
perfect.
One of the things that I noticed about AI was it's incredibly biased. So when I first created one of my first agents, it was a Blue Ocean Navigator, and their name is AB.
Hmm.
And I was like, oh, like when I created this thing, I was like, oh my God, like I changed the world. And then I started going, well, a lot of people are like, well, it seems so positive, or like talks like you, and like, how do you know that it's actually validated? How do you know that market research is done? And so I started really stepping back and taking a look at my bias,
Hmm.
a marketer's bias, and thinking, well, how do I know? And so I got very into vibe coding recently, where I'm, building websites with AI, and I was really passionate about, or am very passionate about, one of my buddies who's going through something right now, just through criminal justice, and so I wanted to create a website for him and show that he's innocent, and he doesn't deserve what he's getting. And so I started building this thing, and it's just like it kept breaking and breaking, and the AI kept breaking it and breaking it. And I'm like,
Hmm.
what is going on? And I was like, so I just started asking it, like, why do you keep like breaking the website every time we're almost there? And like, it kind of gave me some answers, and I was like, and I just kept asking questions. Well, why? Like a kid, right? It's like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
why? And eventually I came back to it, and it's like, well, I am, what AI, when it answers you, it's looking back through its own context window too, the whole chat that you've been having.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's influenced by itself. So it's influencing itself
Mm,
over time. It's influenced by you. It's influenced by your tone, and so like it gets excited, and it makes mistakes, and it's like it's vibe coding with you, and that's not what you want with an AI. You want an AI that's going to, like, especially when you're coding or doing something technical, you need them to be a technician. You need
yeah.
them to be excellent. So I built this product called, so it starts to tell me all the different ways it was biased. So I was like, well, what can we do about it? It was like, well, we can build a product. I was like, well, what would we build? It was like, well, we could build a bias detection, like a stupid, dumb little bias detection agent,
Nice.
or not even an agent, just a piece of software that pings every time that I go through one of these
Yeah,
biases.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so I was like, okay, build it. And then it built it. And I said, okay, can you put it in the UI? Can you put it actually in my IDE, in my coding tool? It was like, sure. I was like, okay, do it. And it did. And I've got this little thing, this little button on my IDE,
Uh-huh.
and it like every time starts to write code that is biased, it goes bing. And so I'm
That's
like, oh
awesome.
my God, like this is for real. And it just helped me immensely. And so like now I'm going, oh wow. So now we're looking at all the domains going, what if we shifted a little bit and really showed people like what's the bias in your industry?
Hmm.
What are the things that are keeping you from being successful? What are the things that what are the processes and the you know the just because we've always done it this way, this is how we have to do it, and like rather than trying to force innovation,
Yeah, yeah.
really question why we're doing things the way we're doing, and using AI to be that sort of technician and say, well, not creating, but being more reductive
So,
and
so,
saying, how do we strip away bias?
so listen, this is very interesting. I think could be very relevant for the average listener here, because when you're talking to ChatGPT, there's definitely that same feeling. It's agreeing with you, telling you how good it is, how good what you said is, but you don't want that. So, is there a prompt that people can just like type in and be like, "Hey, listen, um, don't just agree with me. Like, I will need you to be like the voice of reason here."
Absolutely, absolutely. So I built one. Have you ever heard of Ray Dalio? He's got a he's a hedge fund manager,
Hmm.
one of the most successful in history. This man understands numbers and patterns like you would not believe. He predicted so many of the financial crash of 2008, and like every negative pattern and bias that we've seen in finance and in business over the past 20 years, this man has been on top of. And so I was like, what if I took all of his philosophies and formulas and built an AI that anytime I had a question about whether another AI was bullshitting me, I could just drop it in here and it would go check it out for bias. And so I did it and I was like, oh, it works. It works. So like all you have to do right now, like you literally go to ChatGPT and just be like, tell me everything you know about bias, AI, technology, finance, and Ray Dalio. I think it's Dalio. But you can find it
Okay.
just ask ChatGPT. And then say, so let it put all the comments, just let it give you everything. And then say, okay, great. Now, what I'd like for you to do is to create a system prompt, a role and system prompt that embodies everything that Ray Dalio thinks, believes, stands for. Every formula he's got. Just write a system prompt that does that, and it'll say okay, and then it'll do that, and then so you just take and once it's done with that, all you do is copy that, and then go up to the top left of your screen and just click create, or you go to create GPT, and you
Hmm.
click on that, and then it takes you a little window, and it'll say, okay, what do you want to make? And then you just drop that prompt right in there,
Yep.
and you just say, make this, and it'll make it for you, and then you say, okay, great. Give it a name or whatever, give it a name, and then say,
Hmm.
and then click the create button, and then you come back,
Nice.
and then instead of talking to ChatGPT, now you're talking to Ray Dalio. Like that, that is the power, and so few people know that.
Listen, that's so awesome, man. Um, we're gonna have you back on this podcast for sure because I have so many more questions for you. But I want to keep these to like 30 minutes for listeners, though. But we're gonna talk more. Mike, listen, personally, I learned so much from you in these 30 minutes. I can't wait to see what you guys are when you guys officially launch, and you and I will
Mhm.
definitely be in touch. I want to keep learning from you,
Absolutely.
but more importantly, I want to have you back here. We'll figure it out the timing, but I think everyone will enjoy listening from you and from the team at Brevetto. So thank you for joining, man, and looking forward to next time.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure, brother. I really appreciate the time.